It's a Monday mental moment, and we're going to talk about soul wounds and the effects. Last week, we talked about attachment injuries and how that creates a soul wound. And now we're going to get into it a little deeper, as deep as we can in a short period of time. So, when we talked about attachment injuries last week, those were incidents where something occurred when we were younger, and it could have been older, but it's during our formative years that creates a wound in our soul. It affects our feelings. It can challenge our dignity. It could be abusive. It could be any number of things. But now let's talk about how they can result. How does an injury to our soul occur? And it usually, again, starts with our parents, our caregiver, our foster moms and dads, or aunts or uncles or grandparents, whoever is taking care of us. And it could be even abandonment. They're not taking care of us. For instance, the caregiver or loved one is just not available, either emotionally or physically, meaning they're not present. And sometimes that's due to their own emotional distress or discomfort with closeness to the child. Then there's the caregiver who is willing but not able to be there. Like sometimes a parent might become ill or hospitalized or incapacitated, and that makes them physically unavailable to the child. Then we have the caregiver who wants to be available and normally would be there, but is absent emotionally or physically because of some crucial developmental phase, or like during a time of crisis, right? A mother may go back to school when her children are teenagers, so she has little time for them during that particular time. Or a husband may be, put into a difficult, prolonged project at work, so he's unavailable to either the children or the wife. And so then she has to deal with, the loss of the father during that time, meaning he's not available. Then there's the caregiver loved one who is there, but instead of providing a loving, safe environment, they're insensitive, they're off-putting, they're embarrassing, they use sarcastic language when the child is needy at that particular time for a parent's love and concern. Some parents put their children down when they get upset about day-to-day stresses, or the husband actually might ignore his wife and comment about how physically and emotionally exhausted he is from work, but then yet she's physically and emotionally exhausted from dealing with the children, and he might make fun of that. The caregiver who's smothering and overly concerned. Today, we call that helicopter parents, but they're really concerned about the safety and protection of their child. And so they don't allow the child to feel the freedom of exploring the world so that they can gain confidence and master life skills. So those are some of the degrees to which hurtful actions can occur that can create those soul wounds. So what that does is creates injuries to the heart. And so they become dramatic and or traumatic to the child, which then results in reactions. And so remember, when I started this session, we said, why do we do the things we do? Why do we react the way we do? Whenever we feel that unavailability of a person that we care about or need, or we feel that that availability is threatened in some way, we experience anxiety, we experience anger, and that anger or anxiety drives us to seek closeness even more, right? Remember, I talked about a baby crying to get his mother's attention, or, an adult who vents and complains and nags and whatever. It is a reaction to their neediness. And if the partner isn't responsive, positively responsive, it can create some serious fireworks. So next week, we're going to talk about some of the things that I'm talking about, some of the ways in which we react to the events, short term and long term. I'm going to give a lot of examples, a lot more examples of things that we do or that have happened to us that can create these soul wounds. Okay, so come on back. I'll give some deeper examples. And then at some point soon, we're going to talk about what to do, right? But right now we're digging in to the cause. And then we'll talk about the effects. And then we'll work on change. Remember, change is a choice. You guys take care of yourself, and I'll see you next week.